Hi, Michelle.
Hey, Tiger.
It is so great to have you. Have you done a podcast with us?
I have never done, this is my first podcast ever. Yes.
First
So,
ever
very
podcast
first.
for Michelle
Yes.
Allen, the
Yep,
famous
that's
Michelle
right.
Allen doing the first podcast. Unbelievable.
I don't
I
know about
can't believe
famous,
it.
but you know.
You are. Every time I talk about Sonia and everybody knows you. So
Oh, that's
I,
awesome. I love hearing that.
yeah. So what are you up to these days? I'm really curious. I haven't talked to you in a long time.
Yeah, so I launched my course, my dental assistant course a couple weeks ago, and I've been working on that for so long. And I've just been working full time still at Valentine Endodontics. And I just moved recently, literally on Wednesday. So just kind of getting back into the grind of things.
That's amazing. So you're mixing or you're balancing or trying to balance full time at Valentine and starting a online dental assisting school, or is it continuing education school? Like, what is it?
Yeah, so it is a continuing education. I'm not offering CE credits for it just yet, but that is something that I want to incorporate. You just have to fill all that stuff out and get, you have to apply and all that stuff. So I haven't done that quite yet, but I'm hoping to do that in the future. But yeah, I'm literally working full time as a clinical lead at Valentine Endodontics. So I basically manage the clinical staff. I help train. I basically train all the employees. I've been there for over 15 years now, which is absolutely insane. Yes,
But
yes, over 15 years. Me and Dr. Chopra, well, I've been working with Dr. Chopra for 15 years, but I do work with the other doctors as well. And we started the practice together, and it's like we have the three doctors now, and it's absolutely amazing. Uh, I I feel like, I mean, it is my second home, so I love that place, and I love
that's
my
so
job
cool.
too as a dental assistant. But I wanted to create this course. So basically, Dr. Chopra, she basically created an online course for dentists, for general dentists. It's called eSchool. She does coaching, she does it independent, and she also does a live version. I actually help her with the live, um, with a couple of the other assistants at the office. And we do a lot of hands-on training with the assistants that come with the doctors. And I just wanted to kind of piggyback off of that because I feel like when the doctor and the assistant are working together and they like, it can be a powerhouse. Like you can be so efficient, so productive if you're on the same page. And that's basically why I created this course because I feel like, you know, obviously, number one priority is patient care. And I feel like if the doctor and the assistant are on the same page, they can provide excellent patient care. You can really, like, the production can just skyrocket. And I feel like just the dental assistant, if they can do more within the office, it creates more of like job satisfaction and like growth. You want to grow as an individual in your job. Most people do. So me as being a leader for so many years, I started as a leader in 2013, and I didn't really even know what to expect about that job position. I've just been kind of thrown into everything as I grow in the office. And I love it because I get to mentor other dental assistants. I get to train everybody that comes into the office. And you watch these individuals grow as well, and that's very rewarding to me. So um,
So what is a lead assistant? What is
so
the
in my
title?
Okay. So in my definition of a lead, it's not it's not a manager. I don't want to manage. I don't want to like be bossing people around, but I take whatever feedback that the doctor is giving me and I put that into action. But I also like there are a lot of things that I get delegated from the doctors, but then I delegate that to other people as well. So you gotta have to learn how to kind of maneuver, how to delegate things. A lot of people like to hold on to specific job like duties, but if you have like 10 job duties, like how are you supposed to grow and learn more within the office if you're just holding on to those job duties? You have to pass those on to other people, which allows them to grow as well. So I'm actually going to be doing like a blog about that and like how to master delegation because I feel like that's a skill that a lot of people need to have. within the office. But I feel like a lead is basically a mentor, someone that the doctors can go to when they need something done. Because when you're going to five people, nothing's getting done. You need to go to one person and trust that that one person is going to get it done for you. And that's basically my job. So I think that that's
Interesting.
what a lead means
Right.
specifically for
So
me.
you're like a lead assistant, meaning the entire back office is on you.
Yeah, so it's not entirely on me. I also have a co-lead as well. So you can have multiple leads, but it's basically, you have your new people that are coming in, they're learning, and you are training them and you are delegating to them and you're helping them master the skills so that maybe one day when someone else comes in and our office grows, then those people can, you know, help those other people grow. So it's basically a trickle effect.
Right. I'm trying to get very specific because I've seen models, Michelle, where like your office, right? For example, I remember when we first met years ago before COVID, right? It was like I think 2017 or 18. We were trying to figure out
Hmm.
what year. You were doing orders, and then you
Yeah.
guys were organizing supplies. So I remember I was there with you. Then the next time I come in, I think you and Victoria were doing it, right? And then I think the last time I was at the office, I think you stepped away and now Victoria was doing it. So I'm trying to get very specific because most offices, I don't think they know what it is to have a very strong lead assistant.
Hmm.
And so I would love for you to describe like nitrous and oxygen tanks or checking equipment, turning on the air compressor in the morning, checking the schedule. You guys are endo office. You don't have the labs, but like maybe an office has somebody who is responsible for checking all the lab cases. Is that the responsibility of the lead assistant to make sure every other assistant knows what to do?
Yes. So, and that's what I was kind of going with the whole delegation process is, as a clinical staff member, you have certain duties that you have to get done, and it shouldn't fall on one person. But, I have clinical duties that I have to do, which I started out with all of them underneath. Like I had to do everything. And then as more people trickled in and we started training more people, like, Victoria, I was doing ordering all the time, but we kind of did this whole little thing. It's called delegate and elevate, and it's basically you write down the job duties that you have or that you are doing in your office, and then you kind of write down like what you like, what you're good at, what you love and what you're good at, what you like and what you're not good at, what you don't like and what you're good at, or what you hate and what you don't really want to ever do. And so, with ordering for me, like I liked it, but I was also doing a lot of other things. And in my job description, I'm also doing like admin work at that time, like refunds and checking ledgers and like all this kind of stuff. And so I didn't have time to really focus on the ordering. So that's when I delegated that specific task to Victoria. And she's been doing that for a really, really long time. And, as a leader, you oversee certain things, but you're not necessarily doing it. But you make sure that whenever you delegate a task, you have to explain what exactly they're doing. You have to, answer any questions that they may have. You basically have to train them on that specific task and watch them like do it like 10 times right before you just let them go. But they're always under you. Like you're always the one that have like, like let's say if something's not ordered or if something's, you know, if you're waiting on something and something's not at the office, like I'm actually going and asking like, hey, like where is this product or was this product being ordered or if the doctors are asking me about those things, that's what I'm going to her for. The doctors don't have to go to her for it, that I do, and then I will like I'll basically go back to the doctors and follow up and follow through. So you are kind of overseeing everything, but you're not doing everything.
Right.
It's
I mean,
impossible for one person to do that.
if you have the right people.
Exactly, exactly. And that comes with also like hiring people, like you have to hire people that have the same core values as your office. Like there's a lot to be learned, like how to hire, how to
How to
fire,
fire.
how to we read something in our office, it's called traction, and that really helped a lot, like basically like lay everything out, what we need to do, and gave us a lot of resources to use in order to like build our practice and make it as efficient as it is right now. So, you know, it's been 15 years in the making of what we are now. And I think Dr. Chopra is actually creating another course. It's basically like a coaching thing to where she kind of helps coach offices and how to like build their efficiencies and that kind of stuff. So I think it's
That's
really neat.
awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So, very personal question, but maybe feel free not to answer. Any time that you had to delegate and grow as a leader, did your pay go up?
So okay, I will answer this question. Like I feel like in my job, I've always I always have the hustle mindset. Like I'm always wanting to grow. I'm always wanting to learn more. I'm always wanting to take more off of the doctor's plate. And in turn, I've never had to ask for a job or for a pay increase. I feel like that's always just been given to me because of the doctors see what I'm doing, what I'm learning, how much I'm putting into the office and helping it grow, and they reward me with a pay increase. So yes, I have had multiple pay increases, but that's just because I'm proving myself as a dental assistant and I'm taking on other job duties. It's not just sitting in the chair. And, you know, I hate to even say this because I hate when people describe assistants as they sit in the chair and they suction. Like, that's not, we work so much harder than that. But I'm going to work and I'm not just going to clock in, clock out. I care a lot about the office. And like I said, it's like my second home. So I feel like I've put a lot of time and effort into the practice and to help it grow as well. And I like, I think that's why the doctors see that and they reward accordingly.
So, without asking you directly, but I'm really curious. I think I had either a podcast or an article, a $45 an hour assistant.
Oh,
Do you think
Lord.
it's Do you think it's possible?
I mean, I know that different states Um, they have different caps, I guess, on a dental assistant job position. You know, I really hate that our cap is so low in a lot of states. You know what I mean? Because I feel like assistants can do a lot of things, and as an assistant, you have to learn what you can do within the scope of your like job in your state. Every state is different. Every state has different rules on what you can do as an assistant. Like some states, they will allow you to place a composite billing, but
Hmm.
in North Carolina, um, we can't do that. So we have to do what's in the within the scope of our job, and I feel like that does hold assistants back on making as much money as they could, you know. But yeah, I always get asked. It's funny because when I get like the things that I do, we get to do a lot in our office as dental assistant, and that includes placing purple permaflow, which is like an orifice barrier at the end if we're doing like a temporary filling. And I'll get into the doctor chair and I'll, you know, get the microscope. Like I know how to look through the microscope, and I know how to work through the microscope. And the patient's always like, oh, are you some type of like like are you a doctor as well, like what's your job position, like because we do so much there, and it kind of makes you feel good because you're like, okay, like this is I'm not just an assistant, like
Right.
I'm doing a lot
Yeah.
more than just what an assistant would do. So
Yeah.
but we don't have anything like in North Carolina, we don't have expanded functions dental assistant. There are some states that have that, but we don't have that here because we can't do composites or anything like that. But
Which makes your story even more compelling because, okay, so let's just say you have a state that allows all that stuff. Okay, so you can go to the doctor that owns an office and say, I'm going to do all the expanded function stuff. But, okay, so there's still going to be a ceiling how much they pay you. But I think, or I feel that based on your personality, there's no ceiling, right? So you can continue growing, you can continue learning, you can continue implementing stuff, you can continue taking more things off of doctor's plate or office manager plate as far as what you do and how you grow. And I love your attitude that you didn't ask, that you were just assuming that it's going to be given to you. What I'm still curious on your take. Why do you think more people are not doing it? Like, why do you think more dental assistants are not stepping up? And I don't want to create it where it's like, it's all on them. Maybe it's the combination of not the right office, not the right person. But I'm curious
Yeah.
from your standpoint, what have you seen?
I do think that it sometimes the doctors are not it's hard for them to let go of certain things that they want to do. So like, it took a minute for Dr. Chopra to allow me to do more in the office because you have to release that control of everything. You know what I mean? But I think that if the doctor trains the assistant properly, just like how I'm training the assistants that are coming in, you know what I mean? If you're like, it takes a minute to train, but just think of all the time that's going to be saved when you train your assistant to do something and they're doing it just as well as you. And then you can go to another operatory and work on another person. Like, you know what I mean? Like, those are the ways that you can create efficiencies within your office. And I feel like sometimes, maybe dental assistants aren't, maybe they don't feel like they can ask to do more. But I feel like, you know, doctors can kind of let release of control of certain things and allow their assistants to do more. And I know that takes a lot, but if you learn to trust your assistant, you have that trust within each other, things are going to be done properly, then I feel like that goes away. And me and Dr. Chopra, we had to learn how to do that like we had to learn how to really trust each other with that.
Hmm.
But the more I would go to her and say, "Hey, like what can I take off your plate? What can I do for you?" That's when the trust was developed. And then she's like, "Okay, like I'm going to let you do this. I'm going to let you do this. Like you want to do more. You want to do more." So I think that if you want to do more within your office as a dental assistant, I think that you should go to your doctor and just say, "Hey, like, I really want to help you help take some things off of your plate. Like what can I do to help you um, you know, increase production, or like what can we do to work together to do this?"
Hmm. I think doctors particularly scared sometimes to build that trust, right?
It can
And
be
so,
hard. Yeah, because I
right,
mean, just technically, like you don't really know how long your assistants are going to be with you. People change jobs so sporadically these days. Like, but if you find a really good person and a good assistant and you're like, hiring off of your core values and all this kind of stuff, and you're really communicating with each other, I think that trust can definitely create a bond. And, me and like, I love Dr. Chopra. Like, she's not only was she my boss, but and there are some you have to be able to separate the two when you're at work. But she is a great mentor and a friend, and I just think the world of her. So
right,
I want everybody to have that like relationship with their doctors. I think that would be great.
right. So let's stay here for a second because
Okay.
the doctors may not be open to build that or break that barrier, right? Because you did say that you guys are friends, and I've seen you two communicate off the work, and that's a lot of fun to watch you, right? You're
Yeah.
friends, and it's for a lot of people, it's a scary thing because you can be taken advantage of, and forget the doctor side. Like I can ask the doctors these questions, but how do you feel about this from a dental assistant standpoint? Like how do you approach this the right way that it's not creepy? The second is like, how do you actually do that
Um,
to approach of
I
like building that kind of relationship? Like you mentioned, you would wish everybody would have a relationship you have with Dr. Chopra.
yeah. Well, I think it organically grew as we learned to trust each other at work. Like we weren't always, um, we hang out outside of work now, and we go have the wine nights or whatever. You know what I mean? And but like it wasn't always like that before. Um, there was a barrier between doctor and assistant and like boss and employee, and I completely understand that. But I think that as we as I grew within the office and she learned that she could trust me as an employee, I feel like that organically grew into something else. So, um, it's hard for me to really say like specifics on things because everybody has different personalities and everybody, has different things. Like, maybe the dentist and the assistant don't want to be necessarily BFFs, but they want to work better together. And I think that that's the most important part is learning how to communicate and learning how to trust each other in the job. That way you can trust each other to do these things together.
Right. You mentioned this is such a fascinating subject because I see like I always say, or I've seen it myself, where you can you need two people in a dental practice to run it successfully. Only two. You need a doctor and dental assistant, right? The
hmm
doctor can do
Well,
the
also
hygiene.
don't forget about the front office people too.
You can ask your mom to answer the phone calls, right? But it's really
Well, yeah,
hard
that's
for a doctor to do anything without an assistant. So like it's two people. Don't tell the hygienist though, right? So like it's like if we're talking about a general office. So I feel like that dynamic is so powerful. Like what you said in the beginning, I'm looking at my notes. You said it's a powerhouse, right? If the dental assistant and a doctor are like locked in.
yeah. It's
So
it's
what's
it's
the
great.
secret sauce in that locked in? What do you feel that what are the
I
ingredients?
think communication, number one, like you need to be able to communicate with each other. Um, and I feel like that's pretty much with every relationship in your life, like communication has got to be number one. You can't like assume, things. Everybody has different personalities. Like I said, like I'm an S personality. Um, which means like I'm pretty like steady and like if you do your disc assessment and stuff like that, Dr. Chopra's a D, so she's a dominant personality and she, she knows what she wants, she goes after it, all that kind of stuff. But we mesh well together because we communicate well and we respect each other. But I just feel like communication is like number one
What
for
else?
sure. Uh, well, again, trust, but also like learning what you can do to make it easier for the doctor. Like you're not just sitting in the chair, like you are learning what you can do next as the assistant in order to make the procedure go smoothly for the doctor and the patient. And that's like when I'm working with Dr. Chopra, it's basically like a dance. Like we don't have to talk about what we're doing. She doesn't have to ask me to pass her instruments. And patients see that and they are like, "Oh my goodness, like you guys work so well together." And we're like, "Well, now that we've been working together for 15 years, like, you know what I mean?" But it wasn't always like that. There was a learning phase and you got to trust the process and you got to be patient that with your dental assistant as they're training, as they're getting better, tell them what you need. And but like she's very consistent with her work as well. So it's not like she's jumping from one thing to the next each time. Like she's very consistent in her procedure. So I feel like that also helps.
Okay. So communication, trust. What about nonverbal communication?
Yeah, nonverbal communication. I mean, just I feel like I feel like we have, you know, times where it's like nonverbal communication. Um, basically like in the morning, whenever we get to work, like I'm a pretty positive, I'm a morning person, I would say. So I'm pretty positive. I go in the office, I open everything up because I'm typically there. We have to be there at 6:30 in the morning because we have a 12-hour shift on a Monday. And we do a morning huddle in the morning, and as soon as we get to the morning huddle, we go over like our day, like the patients, the medical history, and all that kind of stuff. And I feel like nonverbal communication of like, hey, is today's going to be a positive day? Like, is somebody coming in with an attitude? Is somebody like, you can tell if something's going on in someone's life, but you just got to leave that at home. But I mean, nonverbal communication as far as like when you're in the operatory, like passing instruments back and forth and everything like that, that's all about efficiency. But it also is about the doctor being consistent with their procedure at work as well. And that's something that so when I created the course, I'm literally going over like the evaluation, how we have like an evaluation template, like to make things easy, um, instruments, like the actual like uh, sequence of treatment. So when you're doing your sequence of treatment, it's literally the same thing every single time. And if you as the doctor are also learning that the sequence of treatment, the assistant should be learning the same sequence of treatment. That way you are both on that same page. If you're doing like if you're doing one thing, one procedure, and then the next procedure you're like switching it up, then it could confuse the assistant and then you're not on the same page. So it it comes with practice, but I think as long as you know the sequence of treatment, then you're pretty much set. Like for a root canal, root canals are not always the same, but it's pretty much the same procedure every time. That's what makes it
Mhm.
easy to learn that sequence
So
of treatment. But
you have a template for the dental assistant or the doctor to sit down, or both, ideally, and go through the sequence of procedures, what instruments are used, when they're used, and how they're used, so that they can build the nonverbal communication skills between each other.
correct.
Is that
Yeah.
right?
Yep.
Okay, that's pretty cool. So, do you think most offices don't have that?
I think that they do. I think that, for me, like when I was first starting out, like I would watch and pay attention to everything. Like my eyes aren't over here, like looking at the computer, like wondering like what's going on in the hallway. Like I am focused in on the doctor and what they're doing. And I'm also listening to the words that are coming out of the doctor's mouth. So like that's how I that's how I've learned pretty much everything about how I talk to the patient, post-op instructions, answering questions before the procedure. Like I'm listening to the doctor at all times and I'm taking everything in. So I feel like you really have to just pay attention to everything that's going on around you and being dialed into the procedure.
I'm fascinated by this because I feel like, have you seen any like chefs related like shows?
TV shows. I
Yeah.
haven't watched some like I can't even tell you the last time I watched TV. It's been a
Okay.
long time, but yes,
Yeah, you
I
got a
have
lot going
before.
on. One of my favorite shows is The Chef's Table, and they have this whole series of I mean, not doctors, the chefs, and they tell the story how they grew up and how they became famous and how they opened up their 50 best restaurants in the world and stuff like that. And I'm always fascinated by what happens in the kitchen, like between the chef and the sous chef and all these people involved. And the amount of nonverbal communication is insane, right? So the doctor, I mean, again, the chef can just like go in, like try the soup like this, like with a finger, and then lick it, and they're like, done. Everybody knows what that means, right? And then
That
at
means
the
you
same
better change
time,
it up.
right. And then at the same time, I mean, again, speaking about a general dentist, like I've seen doctors work in the patient's mouth, and then like this like look on the doctor's face when they look up at an assistant like this while instruments are there, it's not good, right? So like something is going on. So there is verbal communication, but I don't think anybody masters it. I don't think people spend too much time on it. But yet it's like one of the things that helps offices to be efficient.
Yeah. I do know that it's funny because me and Dr. Tripper actually like we joke about it a lot, but like she has different hand signals about like she'll have like her hand out here, or she'll have her hand out here, like scissors, or like, I know she needs the anesthetic for the injection, like she has so many
That
like
is
hand
cool.
signals, so I know exactly what she needs when she like puts her hand out, even though it kind of looks the same to most people, but it's different. So I don't know, it's funny.
Yeah, yeah. So the same concept, like this famous restaurant, 11 Madison Park in New York. So I was listening to the book called Unreasonable Hospitality. And so they actually talk about it, like the guy who was in charge of the business side of things, not the chef. So they're two equal partners of the business. The one is the chef and one is the business guy. This guy was so annoyed that every time the people would sit down, and they have 4 or 5 options for water, right? They have this water, they have that water, and they have this. And so they would have, the waiter just sit them down, ask them the questions, and then somebody else comes in with the water, and they have to bring all these bottles and all that, and what you want sparkling, with this, and then they pour the water, and the guy was so annoyed. So they built a system where the waitress, as the conversation is going with people at the restaurant, he or she would ask the questions like, "Hey, what would you like to do for the water?" And if the one person says sparkling, they would do something behind their back and be like, send the signal or something.
Oh,
And so as soon as this guy or the girl walks away, somebody with the water shows up with exactly what they wanted and put in front of
wow.
them. Right.
That's
So
that's
like,
pretty amazing.
yeah. And so I feel like you guys have the same system.
Yeah. Hand signals.
Hand
That's all we
signals,
need.
nonverbal
Nonverbal,
communication.
exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Work.
So what do you think, or what is your goal to accomplish with the course?
So, I really wanted to create, first off, a community for dental assistants. And I want a positive community. Like there's a lot of like dental assistant groups and like that kind of stuff on Facebook, but I feel like it's all negative towards offices. Like they're all complaining about patients or not, maybe you can take that out. I don't know. Sorry. But they're they they're just complaining about their job and like all this kind of stuff. It's just negative. And I literally I added myself into a group at one point and I took myself right back out because I was like, I'm sorry, but this I can't even like immerse myself into this at all. But I want this to be a very positive community for dental assistants to come who want to grow, who want to learn how to lead. Like I will give all the information that I've ever learned in my 15 years, to someone who really wants to grow. Like I think that that's an amazing thing, and I think that that'll help offices become more efficient, become more productive, get on the same team as their doctor. So that's pretty much. Oh, sorry, I thought somebody was coming in. That's pretty much like why I created this in the first place. But like I was kind of telling you before, Polished Academy is my umbrella, and then I was going to do a lot of courses. But I did a course on how to find your dream team. I didn't really put it out there too much, but it was kind of like practice for me, like being in front of the camera. Those things like you have to learn to be comfortable with and everything. And so this is a lot bigger course, and it has 8 modules. There's an independent version, which is something that the assistant can buy, or the doctor can invest in their assistant and buy for them. They do it on them on like on their own. It's basically like self-study, so there's no coaching involved or anything like that, but there is assessments along with it. And then I have a coaching, which is you get a coaching call with me every week for 8 weeks. And we dive into each module at that specific time. I think I'm going to be doing an hour coaching call every week. And then that includes assessments, that includes like questions, like you can submit in questions, like, all that kind of stuff. And then eventually I'm going to do a one-on-one slash office implementation where if the doctor wants to hire me to go to the actual office, then I can do that as well. Basically, I just wanted to create a community for dental assistants, something that is more of, continuing education. Again, I want to do CE credits eventually, but I'm not doing that at this time. But it's specific towards endo. It's not, general or anything like that. But I feel like general dentists do endo as well. So it could really be for everybody if it's something that you want to learn. And, if you're a dental assistant that's in maybe a general practice and you want to learn specialty stuff, then I'll like, why not take it? Why not learn
Right.
more?
Right. And so these are the courses that are listed on your website, right? Polished Academy.
Yeah, that's just the umbrella. So that's just the name. That's just Polish
Mm-hmm.
Academy. And the reason why I chose that is because, you're polishing your skills. So like, I'm not giving you your certificate to become a dental assistant, but you're like already have your certification. You're already working as a dental assistant, but you want to learn more. You want to polish your skills, and you want to become a better assistant with what you're doing. So that's
Right.
why I named it Polished Academy.
That's really cool. So that's specifically for endo. Okay.
Hmm.
Do you think you have something to share with even general dental assistants?
Yes, yes. So
Okay.
as I was saying before, Dr. Chopra, she is doing her e-school, um, she does independent, she does coaching, and she does live as well. And I kind of piggybacked off of that because I feel like, you know, if these general dentists are coming in and they're learning how to do root canals, and they're just, polishing up their skills doing that, their assistant needs to be on the same page. And why not why not offer that to them as well? So it's not just for endo assistants, even though, if an endodontist wants their assistant to take something like this, then that would be great. But general dentists, if they want to start doing more root canals or if they're diving into that kind of stuff, you want your assistant to know the files. You want them to know what questions to ask for the evaluation. I go over x-rays, like what is a good x-ray? What is a bad x-ray? How do you fix cone cuts? How do you take finger placement x-rays, which is like under the rubber dam where the patient's like holding the sensor in the mouth. You don't have the ring to aim to. You have to basically like aim the tube head to the sensor. So I'm I'm training all of that stuff in this course.
Wow, that's pretty cool. So who would be the target or a good, I don't know, avatar for your course?
It would be um, obviously endodontic assistants. It would be endodontists who maybe want to invest in this for their assistant. And it could be general dentists who want to also do more root canals and they want their assistants to know more about endo. I think that's pretty much the general target market for me. It could be really anybody in the dental field at this point. I mean,
Got
an
it.
oral surgeon may not want to buy this for their assistant, you know what I mean? Because I'm not
Yeah,
really talking about that, but it could be for general dentists, it could be for endodontists, and it could
right.
be for assistants who want to learn more about endo or the specific specialty.
Yeah. So how are you going to manage the full time at Ballantyne and this course?
So I am, I mean, I'm gonna be obviously like I'm gonna be I'm gonna be doing it like I have two jobs, you know? I'm gonna be working at Valentine Endodontics 40 hours a week. My coaching calls, if I'm doing those, they're gonna be on Wednesday nights. So it's gonna be like at 8 o'clock from 8 to 9 is when the coaching calls are on Wednesdays. And then uh, I'm gonna be going through the assessment and doing like emails, like following up with people, all that kind of stuff, just in my free time when I'm not working. That's pretty much what I'm going to be doing until I decide maybe to lessen my hours at Valentine Indo. I don't know, but for right now, I'm doing both, and I'm really excited about the like how this is going to turn out. And I really want to help other assistants become a better assistant. That's
Yeah.
that's what I want. That's my purpose.
Yeah. And I think it's going to help with just in general. I think there's no clarity in the industry for dental assistants, something that you touched on earlier. I feel like dental assistants don't have a career path, and that's really, really hard. So, like, you can be called a dental assistant if you're a sterilization tech, and you can be called a dental assistant if you're assisting a doctor on like super difficult procedure. And these are
Yeah.
two complete different dental assistants, right? And then for me, like when I look at it, I wish they would have a different name. I wish it would be
Yeah.
more of like proper representation of your skills and where you're at in life, and
Yeah.
like the value that you bring to the office. And so it's like it's very interesting if assistants can like elevate their skill level to get to a different place in life, and it could be financial, it could be a practice. um, I'm also concerned, not a concern, maybe not a good word, but I'm also thinking that with your course and taking your course, assistants will be evaluating their workplace too,
Yeah.
right? So like, is this the right place for me?
Yeah. That's true. And um, and this is something that they can also show their employer that they've done because they're going to be receiving a certificate of completion after everything's done, after they've passed the course because um I feel like that shows a lot of initiative, and I feel like initiative like goes a long way in your workplace. But I mean, I like just kind of sharing my story as a dental assistant. Like I moved to Charlotte in 2008, and I went to school to become a dental assistant, but I just took like a 12-week course and graduated a DA1. So as a DA1, you can do this in North Carolina, but you don't necessarily need a lot of hands-on experience. You just take your course, you get your certificates, and then you can go into a job and get trained on the job. And that's what I did as a DA1, and you have to work your 3,000 hours to become a DA2. And then until you get the DA2 license, then you can't go any further. Like you have to do that. Then you can take your test to become board certified and all that kind of stuff. But I mean, I started at the very bottom of the totem pole, and it has taken me 15 years to get here. But I did start creating this course, and I think I got the idea in 2018, and then I really started working on it in 2021. And then I had a couple of things happen, personal things in my life, and I had to take um, be put on the back burner. But then in 2022, into 2022, 23, I was like, I'm getting this thing done. Like, I'm so tired of like saying that I'm doing, like, I'm creating this thing. And it excites me more because um, I really love mentoring and I love training other assistants. And I think this is kind of like what I am made to do. So I'm just really excited to get this off the ground.
Yeah. So there's this book that I'm reading right now. It's pretty interesting. It's called 4,000 Weeks.
Hmm.
And it's the concept of we all have 4,000 weeks in a life. And then, you can evaluate where you're at based on, how much is left. And it
Yeah.
gives you that idea of the finite number of weeks that you're going to have in life. And one interesting concept, there's a lot of things I don't agree with that book. And then I'm still grappling with one thought there that says that you actually should do more in life. And they give an example that it's the burnout is not coming from doing a lot of things at the same time. And the burnout is coming from regretting not doing something when you could have, right? Because or the second thing is expecting that everything is going to be perfect that you do. But if you drop the perfectionism and expectation that everything is going to be perfect, but just doing everything you can, all the things at the same time, it's actually going to bring a lot of happiness. And so
Yeah.
I didn't like that in the beginning, but then I looked at myself and, like 2 years ago, I would have been, what are you kidding me? Social media, podcasting, writing stuff and promoting stuff and selling at the same time and doing all that by yourself was crazy. But then the more you start doing, the more you can do. And it's like
Yeah.
fascinating when you said that, there was a moment when you said like, F it, let's go. Like
Yeah,
you got to
like
do it.
literally you have to do the things that scare you. Because once you do that, once you do the things that you think that, oh, like I can't do that. Like, I mean, imposter syndrome is a big thing. And that's kind of where I am right now. I'm just like, well, who am I to teach these people this stuff? But like I have the want to do it, I have the heart to do it. And I think
You have
that do the
experience.
thing. Yeah, I have a lot of experience, and I think that you should do what scares you, and that gives you the confidence to do more. Like I'm literally going, I'm terrified of heights, and I'm going skydiving in July, and I'm going rappelling down a mountain at some point, like in June or something. I don't know, but I'm like, I can't believe I'm doing it. But I'm like, you know what? Like I've been doing the things that have been scaring me the most, and it's been the most rewarding thing ever. So I push people to do that if they can.
Wow. What else is scaring you?
Oh gosh. I mean, this is kind of scary. I don't know. Being on a podcast. But I mean, I literally, like when I created the course, I literally had to learn everything from scratch. Like I had to learn how to film, like figure out how I was going to film it, how I was going to edit the videos. Like I had to figure all that stuff out myself, and then how to put it up on a platform. So there's a lot of like learning involved. But I mean, it happened, and like when you create something like that that's in your head and then you bring it to life, it's like the most beautiful thing ever. So
Yeah. And then when you talk to people who say that they want to do what you did, it's
yeah,
also it's also a lot of fun. You're like, I've been in
yeah,
your
it's very
shoes. It's not
rewarding.
that bad. Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's awesome. So what's on your plate for the next 12 months?
I hope that I get this course up and running. As far as students, I hope people sign up. That way I can start changing some lives. Um, I'm doing that. I'm going to obviously being continuing working at Valentine Endodontics. I'm going to be going to Paris in May. Super excited about that. I'm actually going with Dr. Chopra, Dr. Ryder, and Krista from work. So that's how much we enjoy each other's company. But
Wait, the doctors are taking you with you?
we're all going as it's a girl group, so we're all going together. But they're like we all wanted to go, and we were like, hey, let's go together. So they're not necessarily taking us, but we're just all going on a trip together. We're all going
That
on
is
vacation.
fascinating.
It's
That is
great.
fascinating.
Yeah.
I love Paris. That's so cool. All right. So that's 12 months. You want to get the course up and running, continue working. Is there anything else on your plate that you're like, I don't know if I'll be able to do that, or I'll get to that if I can?
Not at the moment, but as I'm creating all this stuff, like I'm just like, okay, like I want to do office implementation. I want to do possibly start my own podcast. You know what I mean? Like there's so many things that you can grapple with and that you can create, and I want to do it all. But right now, this is pretty much I'm
Yeah.
just gonna do this right now.
No, this is great. I applaud you because it's hard to start, but once you start, it's pretty easy. Like you just got
Yeah,
to get going. And if you ever need help with podcasts, I can help you with.
I appreciate that.
I've done a few, but I can share with you. But it's also a pretty like rewarding thing to do. It helps you to streamline your thoughts. It's I've for me personally, I was always like podcast meeting with somebody, and just recently I've done a couple episodes where it's just me, and I'm like,
Oh,
wait a minute,
okay.
I'm just sharing my own thoughts. This is
I
interesting,
love
but
that.
yeah, but it's been very interesting because you got to prepare, you got to put the notes together. They're short, 10-15 minutes, but you are putting your thoughts out in the world for people to see, and being okay that somebody may not agree, and most people will not agree with some of my thoughts. Like I'm sure a lot of people would not agree, but it's like, you just learning to get the word out and your
Yeah,
thoughts out there. So
everybody has a different thoughts. Everybody has different opinions on things, and you as an individual, you're allowed to share those. So I like that.
right. And everybody got different backgrounds too. So that's where the
Mm.
beauty is, from the opinions. Um, this is great. So I'll link up your website. I can see, I'm just looking up your website. I'll include it. Where else can people find you?
So if you go to on Instagram, it's Michelle Allen underscore DA, or on Facebook, it's the same thing. Michelle Allen DA. And my actual website is michelle-allen.com. And then if you go to courses, it'll show you the different courses there. And then if you are interested in the it's called Endo Assisting Amplified. And that will take you to the Member Vault platform, which is where the course is housed. And that will show you where you can go if you want to find out more information. It'll link everything and show everything there specifically.
Right. And so as we wrap this up, what would you tell somebody who is starting out in a dental office, in an endo office, as a dental assistant? Like, what would you tell them?
I think I would just tell them, sky's the limit. Learn what you can and start small. Like, don't overwhelm yourself. There's so many things to learn, but once you start learning things, just keep grabbing more things to learn and just keep your initiative, keep your momentum, and let your doctor see that you want to grow. And I think that speaks volumes if you just keep wanting to learn more, and ask tons of questions. Like I mean, the assistants at our office, they know just as much as the doctors. Obviously, we didn't go to endo school or anything like that, but they are not shy to tell us the why of things. And that's another thing that my course does is it explains the why, not just what you're doing, but why you are doing it. And when you know the why of things, then that just makes more sense to everybody.
Yeah. Yeah. It's almost like I would recommend, when you say ask a lot of questions, have a notebook and actually write
Yeah,
down the answers. That would be so
yeah,
cool. It's fascinating when you see people writing things down.
Yeah.
when they ask questions. Yeah, this is great. I'm really excited for you, and
Thank you.
you know, I wish you luck. I wanted to make sure we're like, I'm glad that this is your first podcast.
I know,
You
me
know,
too.
let's
Thank
get
you.
this out. Yeah, I hope you get invited after that, and I'll recommend some of the podcasts I think where you need to go, where people talk
Okay.
about the team members specifically.
Yeah, I would love that. I would love that.
Yeah, and I think so. We also going to do we're doing events now, and I think we have an event coming up June 21st, if I'm not mistaken. It's called
Okay.
becoming a badass dental assistant, and
Oh my
so
gosh, I love
yeah,
that.
yeah. So I think it would be really cool if you come and give us talk on, you know, it's going to be a lot of general dentist. I mean, and general assistants, but I think it would be really cool if you bring your perspective to talk about
Sure.
communication, nonverbal, and that powerhouse that you described. So I would love for you to be there. So
That's
it's an open
awesome.
invitation.
Yeah, let me know. Send me an email and I'll check my calendar and schedule and everything. And I think that would be amazing. I would love to do
Yeah.
something like that.
As long as you're not like, no, you're in Paris in May, but as long as you're not jumping and doing some stuff and, you know, like
Yeah.
in June. So then yeah, it could work out. This is
Yeah,
great.
for sure.
Anything like I know where how to link you. Any other departing thoughts that you want to share with people?
No, just, you know, I think that if you're, again, I talk about growth a lot in my course and on my website and everything like that. But I just think that if you're willing to grow, you can literally just skyrocket. You don't necessarily have to be just the assistant sitting there suctioning, looking out the window, wishing you can do more. You can do more, and I'll show you how to get there.
Yeah, you can be a dental assistant. You can go to Paris and you can do jumping and you can earn more money and
Yeah,
you can create your own online courses. The sky is the
exactly.
limit, people. Come on.
Sky's the limit.
One life, 4,000 weeks. Let's go.
Let's go. I'm ready.
Exactly. Thank you, Michelle. I really
Thank
appreciate
you
you.
so much, Tiger. It was so good to
Of
see
course.
you
Sounds good.
too.